Hi there, Simon from SimnWoods.com. I've got 5 red Burgundies here, all from the Cote de Beaune, which is the bottom half of the Côte d'Or, the top end being the Côte de Nuit. And vintages, we've got a 6, a 7 and 3/8. And I had no idea which way round to do them, so I normally do them youngest to oldest. I'm doing the other way around today, so and why not? First one then, actually no, I think I'll do 2006s. Oh, anyway, we'll get onto them when I do each wine. First one, Henri Prud'hon Saint-Aubin Premier Cru. Saint-Aubin probably a bit better known for whites than reds. I did a red Burgundy video a bit ago, and I had a Bourgogne Rouge from these guys. It was a bit on the what I call the stalky side. Let's see whether this one is any different. Well, it smells, it's got a slight, almost like toffee-like character to its, truffly, toffee, red fruit, rich cherries, raspberries. It's on the light side, certainly it's quite pale in colour, but it smells tasty. Maybe a little on the stalky side, but it feels like it's one of those wines that you call charming. It's never going to whack American critics around the heads with its size and intensity and gobs of fruit, but pretty wine. It feels to me still desperately young. I'd almost want to, I've just opened it and I feel like I'd almost want to drink it in a day or so, because there's some grippy acidity, a bit of earthy tannin there, and but there's this gentle, soft red fruit character that makes me think there's more wine to come from this bottle. Right, next one, Alox Corton Les Chailloux, again another Premier Cru. This one from Louis Latour, 2006. Stick my nose in there, and there's almost like a slightly stalky but metallic edge. Almost, I don't know whether there's some iron in the soil here, but there's something ferrous coming through. Again, that a bit of red fruit, but I'm not sure whether this is going to be quite as charming. It feels like I always think of Corton as being quite chunky red wine, a bit of power. We've got a pommard to finish, and I always think of that in similar character. Bit of muscle, maybe not as silky as some of the other Burgundies. That's a big grippy wine, that. And it's got this black currant, blackberries, but it's these black cherries in particular really coming through strongly. And there's this earthy undergrowth character, better than I was expecting that. And again, as with the Saint-Aubin, feels like desperately young wine, and almost a crime to pull the corks on these bottles at this stage, but that's my job. I've got a feeling that I'm going to maybe do a little reshoot of this video later and retaste these wines, but we'll see. Certainly tempting, because they all, the first two both feel like you're seeing a fraction of their full glory. Let's see whether we get closer to 100% here with the Bouchard Père-et-Fils Bon du Château. So this is from Bouchard, is a big negociant now owned by Champagne Henriot, and they've got some of their own vineyards. If it says domain on, it's from their own vineyards. They also buy in fruits and batches of wine for blending. It's a bit more exotic, and there's like a earthy wildness here. Now this feels much more evolved. It's strange, it's a year younger, but it feels like a more friendly, user-friendly style of wine. And you're getting this ever so slightly, sounds dreadful, nice paint. You know, I don't know if you go around sniffing paint. Certainly I don't, I have other things to do. But it feels like there is something, in the way I was talking about, like an iron-like edge on I can't remember which of those it was on, but a bit of that lovely fruit, ethereal undergrowth, but then this character of paint. And it's got this gentle, soft, smoky bacon character, but then this fruit, which is velvety and plush, and there's a nice silkiness to it. Beaune is, again, I think of it as one of the slightly chunkier of Cote de Beaune wines, but it's got a nice mix of weight with this velvety, silky softness. It's got some of that come hither allure that maybe the two 2006s didn't have. I'm drinking very nicely at the moment, but again, I still feel that maybe showing 80% of what it could be, as opposed to maybe 50-60% of that's the dishwasher springing into life. If you can hear someone gurgling in the background, it's not my intestines. Let's see how the two 2008s are. So this is Jean-Claude Boisset, Savigny-les-Beaune, Premier Cru La Dominode. It's another wine that feels on the dumb side, but beyond that smoky bacon, there's this really nice, it's like raspberry pastel, again, cherries coming through, and fresh raspberries, raspberry pastels, and red cherries rather than black cherries. And it's a young wine, so I can see the influence of the wood here. Yes, there's that smoky bacon character, but there's also this, there's not sawdust character, but certainly you can smell the oak influence here. One of those wines that I could just sit and sniff this, because every time I come back to it, there's something more coming out. Yeah, there's a richness and heaviness there, it's got a nice structure, it's got a nice mouthfeel. It's got this wood, you can feel the wood tannins in your mouth, but this lovely cherry core, kernel maybe, and but desperately young wine. Almost ashamed to pull the ashamed to pull the cork on all these so far, except that maybe the bone. But nice sappy freshness. This mixture of juicy plush fruit with a sappy freshness. Again, feels like wine that several years or quite a few days open before it will show at its best. Let's see whether Pommard from Antonin Rodet will be any more forward, or will it be another come back tomorrow type of wine. Smells slightly confected, this. It smells. It doesn't smell as intense and as sexy as the Savigny. It feels a bit more correct, and I don't know whether the Boisset one, anything that says Jean-Claude Boisset is their own domain. No, that's the domain de Vougeray, isn't it? But yeah, this feels. It feels firm and correct rather than alluring. Cherries, spice. It's coming out of its shell. Yeah, first sniff, it felt a bit simple, but now it's coming out a bit more. Feels quite full-bodied and fleshy, but simple with it. Nice and simple. Doesn't feel like it's quite got some of the layers that some of the previous ones have got on, but it's a nice, honest Burgundy, and it's not. I mean, for Pommard, £24. I know it's expensive, but for Pommard, it's par for the course. That's what you end up having to pay. Yeah, there's a slightly refreshing, sappy edge, but then this plump strawberry. Some of the others were raspberry. This is definitely strawberry. Bit of raspberry maybe. Cherries. Good length, but just doesn't maybe have the extra mile that some of the others do. But interesting set of wines. I will come back to them. See you later rather than see you later, or see you soon. I know what I mean. Well, it's not 6 hours later, it's actually nearly, not quite 24 hours later, it's the day after. Just didn't get around to it yesterday, it being run up to Christmas and all that. So let's see how these 5 Cote de Beaune wines have opened up since yesterday. Saint-Aubin first. Well, this was a bit on the stalky side, but actually both 2006s and both 2008s were a bit on the tough side yesterday. And now I stick my nose in here, and there's almost something quite exotic like Christmas cake, and don't know where that's come from. Warm spices and ripe, ever so slightly figgy fruit flavours. Well, it has opened up quite a bit, but it still feels desperately young and tight. Seems like 2006 is a vintage that is going to need time. What is coming out now? A bit more of the charm, a bit more of the layers of intensity that I'm looking for in the wine. Still feels like that stalky side might be an issue throughout its life, but hey Burgundy, it confuses the hell out of me. Let's see whether this Alox Courton has come out of its shell. It was looking better than I expected the other day. There's a red cherry richness here, and maybe a bit of plums and a bit of strawberry too. Quite a rich, fleshy style. And yes, that's come out, but it's come out and it's also revealed there's a slight hardness to it. I don't know whether they've They've overdone, they've overworked the fruit, and or whether it's just the Corton's a powerful wine, and Alex Corton, the village in which the Corton vineyard lies, it does produce these quite chunky, rich wines, and so it's maybe not the most subtle of Burgundy, quite hearty with it. Is it great? Is it £27? Yeah, £28. Maybe I'm expecting a little more sexiness and lushness to it, but very satisfying drink. But I want that little bit more for that price. This was looking good the other day, the Beaune 2007. It was the friendliest of the three vintages. Let's see how it's looking today. Yes, and it's got this wild strawberry softness to it. Wild strawberries, ever so slightly cooked strawberry flesh. Yeah, that's the one that's got the charm and the bit of the swagger about it. It's juicy, it's rounded, still quite firm. I notice a bit of tannins. It's not the warmest of day, and the wines are maybe slightly cooler than you'd end up serving them over a meal, but they will warm up, of course. But it's looking really nice today, and as it was the other day. But it still feels like there's plenty of power there, intensity, and this sexy allure, which maybe wasn't in the first two. Let's see how the two 2008s are looking. The Sauvignon Le Beaune La Domino from Jean-Claude Boisset. Now both 2008s were looking a little on the oaky side yesterday, and still notice that oak here a bit, but there's this quite kirsch-like black cherry richness that's really quite attractive. Now that's beginning to look really nice. What's good about it? It's a different type of svelte character to the Beaune. There's a little fresher fruit character, maybe not so much on that stewed fruit. Here there's a freshness about it, there's a life, there's a vivacity, and there's tannins from the grapes, also from the barrels, that are adding a little framework for it for which those flavours can sort of like lace round each other. But again, desperately young. Feels like a couple of days' time it'll be showing even better than it is now, but it looks really nice. Yeah, there's a subtle juiciness to it, and a wildness. That's what I want. I want something that's slightly untamed in my Burgundies. Well, in most wines, actually. I don't want something that tastes like it's been made in a lab. Pommard, 2008. This looked a bit on the simple side the other day. And it's still a bit on the simple side. It doesn't feel like there's the extra layers that maybe were in some of the wines. But there's, a slight bruised red fruit juiciness here. It feels correct rather than exciting. It's an okay wine, it's perfectly pleasant. Again, on the young side, but it's slightly outshone after the Savigny. I mean, the Savigny is probably my favourite of those. Beaune looks good, but the two 2006s, I wouldn't be surprised. I might leave the bottles open for a few more days and see what happens to them. If I do that, if I manage to keep my hands on them, I might report back. See you soon.